It's Saturday morning. I've been up since 6:30 watching my favorite cartoons. I like being up early and watching TV on the weekends because the house is silent, no one is awake yet, and I really enjoy the solitude. I start to hear someone stirring upstairs, and that's my personal cue to quietly head outside. I need just a little bit longer to myself before engaging with my family. The garage door slowly squeaks open, and immediately the air conditioning surrenders as the hot, wet air suddenly takes over the laundry room. My back is cool, but the front of my body is embraced by humidity. I step into our garage, and I brush by the charcoal gray van. Dad drives it now, but he'll be trading it in for an SUV soon. I make my way over to the row of bikes along the wall of the garage, and I see mine. My trusty steed. Big fat tires, super gummy handlebars. I love to dig my nails into them and feel the squishiness. It's a strange source of pleasure. Little half-moon scars cover the handles, showing my fine work. I put my hand on the seat and I kick back the kickstand. I always feel really cool doing that. Then I daintily lead the bike outside. The sunshine hits me in the face, and it's a jarring but welcoming feeling. It's only 7:30 in the morning, but the brightness and the heat of the sun are ready to showcase paradise. I stop, and I saddle up onto my bike, and I start to do some laps around the driveway. As I drive in circles, I can't help but look up at the house. It's still the same on the outside, and I sigh with relief. Cherie's house. She dreamed this house, and my dad built it for her. 2 stories, a bright red door. I always thought that was neat too. And a cute front porch, even with a sweet little bench. Palm trees lined each side of the house, and a huge tree was in the center of the front yard. It looked pretty and perfect from the outside. But ever since Dad married India, everything changed. I know he has no idea how to raise 2 girls, and he must be terrified and feeling a million emotions, but I wish so much that he, my sister, and I could have grieved together just a little bit longer. 8 months later, and here we are with India. A headstrong woman with no desire to deal with children, especially accompanying 2 teenage girls into womanhood. She was sure to transform the house completely. "We should sell it, Glenn," she would say. "Sell my mother's dream home?" It was just a house to India, but for my sister and I, the house was a physical manifestation of our mother's heart. It was a way for us to feel surrounded by her when she was no longer here, a safe nest, and we desperately wanted to remain there. But as the weeks went by, the once beautiful and cozy oasis from the world was now transforming into a model home. A home for showing and no longer living, picture perfect but cold as ice. Now red walls surround the sterile and stark white furniture that everyone is too terrified to sit on. Family photos are gone. Mom's Santa Claus collection is stowed away in some storage locker bin somewhere in the county, and strange, emotionless orchids fill all these new empty spaces. And a for sale sign swings next to that big tree in the front yard. One more lap, and straight down the cream driveway. I gain momentum, and then I'm launched onto the black road. The wind picks up, and I feel the air on my arms. I feel the air cool on my warm face, and I feel my ponytail become parallel to the ground, and the hair on my arms are pushed back. Little bits of loose asphalt get shot up like sparks by the weight and speed of my fat, chunky tires, and sometimes they hit my legs, and I feel the tiniest sting, so I pedal faster and faster, and as I do, I look down at my hands. Squish, squish. It makes me smile, and then suddenly I begin to feel the blood in my body rush up and gather under my skin. Something inside of me is beginning to feel free. It's like a rush of joy. I could float right off of this bike, and I could soar right far away. The feeling is so exciting and just so good. I drive right by Daniel's house, and then Melissa's house. There's no way I'm going to let this moment stop. I drive around the cul-de-sac, and I fly back up the street. But as I pedal back up the street, the exuberant joy begins to disappear. My house is directly in front of me, and I'm getting closer and closer. Who cares? I drive up the driveway, make my laps, and prepare for an exciting round 2, but then there's nothing. I pedal as fast as I can. I want to fly, and I want to soar again, and I want to feel just that feeling again, but it doesn't come. My grieving and motherless spirit almost flew away that day. I was 11 at this time, and my body was beginning to change, and music came into my life. Classical voice was the genre and instrument that I began to study and hone at an art school in Florida. And while my mother was rapidly losing her battle with cancer, I was learning how to tighten my diaphragm to support my voice, which is a common singing technique. But I was allowing it to become a useful coping mechanism. I literally turned it into a physical grip that I could hold on to during waves of grief, embarrassment about my body, fights with my sister, and many uncomfortable moments with India. As I got older and my studies evolved, performance technique came into my realm. And it also became another coping tool, especially for the motherless teen that feels disconnected from her womanhood. Performing really was and is super fun. Each song was a new character, and I loved portraying different kinds of women. For example, a widowed bride on her wedding day. Or, Maria, Mother of Christ. Or, a 1950s housewife asking Santa baby for wings and a yacht. Or a country cowgirl who is full of pride for her farmer love and a simple life. Performing really is so much fun. And I could escape myself and my baggage and be so many different types of women. But when I wasn't performing, I was always missing my mother, and I had this strange misunderstanding and embarrassment about my own womanhood that I did not really understand or really want to get to know. The deep yearning to fly away or escape has been living inside of me since that day on my bike. But because I was too young to do that, the techniques of singing became major coping tools in my life, and all throughout my teens. Tight diaphragm and feminine pretending. And then, when I was old enough to finally escape, my coping mechanism came with me to Boston. And then we escaped even further away to Germany. Holding my belly tight and performing have kept my heart and my body operating through life in a really disconnected manner. And it wasn't until very recently, very, very recently, that I started to see that. So, have any of you ever been asked to be in your body and to dance in front of people with no music? I did it with my eyes closed. And although the idea of it was agonizing, when I finally did do it, it felt like a release. A sweet and kind release. I breathed in deeply. Air moving through my nose was the only sound that I had or I needed. The feeling of release was so gentle but lived steadily in my movement. Movement free and unplanned, but somehow picking up tender momentum. I felt my being in a different way. Something felt free, but not in an escaping way, like that day on my bike. This time something beautiful and new was opening. It felt like I was dancing with my feminine after all these years, after all this time, not realizing that she's been hidden away. We reunited. A few nights later, I was home alone and sitting on the couch. And I suddenly had the desire and curiosity to dance again. So I put on some music and put my phone on the windowsill, and I just freaking danced. Completely improvised a movement all over my living room. And I felt it again. Her again. And she's here, and I'm finally getting to know her.